Hey everyone, it's Chris and welcome back to the Ridge. Today, we're making crabapple jelly, something that runs in the family. Mrs. SweetMapleRidge's grandmother, who grew up not far from here, has been making it the old-fashioned way for as long as we can remember. No dyes, no chemicals, no modern shortcuts, just wild fruit, sugar, and thyme. These little apples might be small and a little rough around the edges, but they make some of the best jelly you'll ever taste. Stick around to learn how to make this true Appalachian classic. Join us!
SweetMapleRidge Farms. Come on down, everybody. Go!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And a big thank you to our junior, mid, and especially our OG Maplers who continue to help take our community to the next level. Now, in this video, we are going to make some crabapple jelly. And that's under Mrs. SweetMapleRidge's jurisdiction, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her.
Okay, so these are some crab apples that we collected today. We wish that we had more, but the apples are very high up in the tree, and even with me being in the tractor bucket, we weren't able to reach them. And when they fall, you're competing with the deer and the squirrels and stuff like that. So... and actually, I'll be honest, we don't know that these are crab apples. There's just a wild apple tree that is down at the bottom of our yard. They look like crab apples. They're small. If you eat them, they're not particularly sweet. So for us to make jelly out of these, we are going to boil the whole apple. Not really boil, we're just gonna add a little bit of water and let these cook down, but we're gonna use the whole apple. So because we're gonna use the whole apple, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wash these really well, and then just cut out any of the, weird bad spots. So we're obviously not gonna make a ton of jelly here, but we're gonna get what we can get from the apples that we got.
That's kind of how things go.
Yep.
All right, let's get these things washed.
Okay, so we're just washing our apples here, and I just have some warm water that I'm running over them and just kind of using my fingers to try to get any weirdness off. I mean, wild apples are going to have kind of like a waxy coating on them that the apple itself produces, but if you just kind of rub the apple, you can get that off, and then you can also get, there's going to be some of these spots on here. Again, it's just, and product of nature, so I just try to use my fingernail and just run them under some warm water. The other thing that I'm doing too is I'm trying to cut the core out, and then if there's any weird parts, then I'll cut that out too. But you can just take a knife and kind of get I'm really just trying to make sure I get the stem.
You're not cutting the core out, you're just cutting the stem out.
Yeah, it's really just the stem, kind of the top part. And then I'm just throwing that in there.
So this is sort of what it's going to look like, and any sort of blemishes are okay, just as long as they don't go down inside the apple. But this is what happens.
Yeah, and we're not exactly sure what type of apples these are. Where these, our property, this part of our property used to be a pasture. So we're thinking that this apple tree and there's a pear tree that's next to it are just from when this was more of an open field. They look like a crab apple, and they're not particularly good to eat straight off the tree, which also makes me think that they're a crab apple. Okay, so these are our washed apples, and you can see where I've just cut out any weird bits, and this is what we were left with. So what I've done is this is just a stainless steel pan, and I put just a little bit of water in here, not much, maybe an inch or so. That's really just enough to help to kind of get the apples started. Don't add a ton of water. You're not boiling them. You're really just trying to get the apples to break down so that you can get their juice and get all of that goodness out of the skin and just through the body of the apple. So we're going to let this go for, I got to tell you, I don't know how long we're going to let this go for because there's not really all that many apples here. So we'll check in and let you know, but I'm just going to simmer these on the stove on medium high until it seems like we've gotten all the juice up out of the apple. Okay, so we have these here, they're simmering. I started at a medium-high heat just to get this up to a boil, and now I've cut it back. You don't want this to be a rapid boil or anything. It really just needs to be a simmer so that you can get your apples to start cooking. And really, at this stage, it smells amazing. If you've ever made apple butter before, you know, in the big copper kettle. That smell when the apples first start cooking, you really can't beat it. So we're gonna let these keep going. Once they're all super soft, I'm probably gonna mash them up a little bit. But as you can see, it doesn't take long for these to start to break down, just on a medium-low heat. All right, so let's check on our apples here. I don't think I mentioned it before. I did cover these with a lid just to keep the water that I had added from evaporating out. And everything here looks pretty good. I'm gonna cut this back just a little bit more to keep it from boiling too much. So everything's softening up, and I'm seeing that the rind here is starting to soften also, so I think this looks great. I'm doing this the way that my grandmother taught me to do it. I call my grandmother Bugs. That's what I've called her since I was a kid. So we're doing this using Bugs' recipe, and my great-grandmother did things the same way. So really what we're looking for here is we just want to make sure that we're starting to get some of the color in the juice. The more red that was on your apple, the more pink your apple jelly is going to be. Ours, we didn't have a lot of red, and just from looking at the color, I'm thinking that we're probably not going to have very red jelly, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay, so while our apples are finishing up here, I just want to show you the setup that we're going to have, because the next step is that we're going to have to strain our cooked down apples, because we really just want the juice out of there. So what I have here is a colander, however you say
Colander.
that. Yeah, that. Yeah, that. So anyway, so I have that, and then I just have 2 layers of damp cheesecloth that I have here, just stacked one on top of another, and I have these just sitting on top of another dish, so that when everything drains, it's going to go in here.
We got that from Bugs too.
Yeah, shout out to Bugs, who also gave us this. I think you would find
Bugs is awesome.
Bugs,
If y'all knew Bugs, you would agree.
Yeah, Bugs has given us a lot of things we have around here. Okay, so our apples are just about done, and we're gonna pour our cooked apples into here, but I just wanted to show you what we're gonna do. You don't have to do this. Whatever you have, whatever option you have that's gonna allow you to strain out your apples so that you're left with just the juice, whatever works for you, but this is just what works for us.
But if Bugs was here, she'd tell us this is the way you gotta do it, because this is the Appalachian way.
Okay, so I think that our apples here are done. I'm just kind of mashing things up now. It does look pretty apple saucy, but again, we're just after the juice, so we're gonna strain all of this. I'm just using my wooden spoon here to break up the last little chunks of apple that we have in here. I think all in all, total cook time was maybe 30-35 minutes. Again, I think that's gonna be dependent upon how many apples you have and how big your apples are. So I just threw these in whole because they weren't very big. If you would cut these up into smaller pieces, I think your cook time would be less than what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so this is done, and we're gonna go ahead and pour it. Again, I know it's done because everything's really cooked down. All the apples have burst. There's some chunks left in here, but you can just kind of break those up. But as my grandmother would say, whenever I ask her when I know something's done or if I know it's right, and she always says, well, you just look at it, and that's how you know it's done. So if I could give you a piece of advice, I guess just look at it, and when it looks like this, then you know it's done. Alrighty, so now we're just gonna pour this into our strainer with our cheesecloth. Alright, so we've dumped our apples, our cooked apples, into our strainer, and this is gonna have to sit for a while. So it is the evening here. I'm gonna put this in the fridge and let this strain overnight and get the juice in the morning, but I will just show you that, you know, we do have juice already.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so it's the next morning. We just pulled this out of the fridge. You can see that this is pretty thick now. And if we look underneath,
this is all of the juice that we've collected. So it's not a ton, but remember, we didn't have a ton of apples. And what's really great about this recipe is that all that matters is how much juice you end up with, so you know how much sugar to add. But aside from that, like however many apples you have, you can make some amount of jelly. We're not gonna have a ton, but that's okay. That's just what we were getting from the apples that we got. So next we're gonna take this and pour it into a measuring cup so that we can see how much liquid we have to figure out how much sugar we're gonna use. Look at how thick that is already. That's just the natural pectin that's already in the apple. Man, so we're gonna be at maybe like 1.5 cups of liquid. I'm gonna scrape the rest of this out because we don't wanna leave any of that behind. Okay, so it looks like we have about 1 3/4 cup of liquid here. So we're gonna pour that here into our saucepan. Okay, so for this recipe, the way that my grandmother taught me to make it is you do a 1-to-1 ratio. So for every cup of juice that you have, you're gonna do a cup of sugar. I have seen recipes online where people say it's like 3/4 cup of sugar to a cup of juice. I mean, I think your mileage is gonna vary here. It's also gonna depend on the type of apple you have, how sweet your apple is. But because we do what Bugs tells us to do, we are gonna do a 1-to-1 ratio. So now we're just gonna turn this heat on. I'm gonna put it on low because you don't want this going crazy. And you'll notice all we have is the liquid and the sugar. If you're familiar with a lot of other jelly recipes, they say to add pectin. And all pectin is it's just fiber. And it's found naturally in apples. And with these types of recipes where you're using the whole apple and you have the peel, you have the core, you have everything, you're getting a tremendous amount of pectin from the apple itself. So you don't need to add any pectin. All we're gonna have is the juice and the sugar, and we're just gonna cook this until we have jelly, and we'll let you know how we're gonna check to see if this is done or not.
In our unscientific process.
I don't know, I'd say it's pretty scientific. I think any person who's made jelly knows about the spoon test. That's how my grandmother knows if it's done rather than just looking at it. She does have an actual test to be able to tell you if it's done or not.
Stick around and find out what that test is.
Yes. Okay, so our jelly is cooking, or it started to cook anyway, and you can see we're starting to get some foam on the top. And there's not, like, the foam's not gonna hurt anything, it's just like a byproduct. But what you can do is you can just kind of take your spoon and you can just skim it right off. Okay, so our jelly is really going, you wanna keep an eye on this, make sure that your heat's not too hot because this will boil over, and then you're gonna have a real mess on your hands. But I wanna talk about the spoon test. So that you know what you're looking for while your jelly is cooking. So the spoon test, you just take your spoon, make sure your spoon hasn't been like sitting in here so it's not hot, but you're just gonna kind of move things around. I know this isn't done just by looking at it, but this is just the point. And what you would want is, see how we just have one drip, this is still very thin, but what'll happen is that you'll have multiple drips that come down and will come together to form one drip on the spoon. Okay, so we're gonna check here again. Do our spoon, ow, touch the side of the pan, don't do that. We are getting very close. All right, I think our jelly's ready to go. I'm just gonna put my spoon in here, kind of mix it around a little bit, see how things look. You're looking for those last few drops to really come together and drip off the spoon more like a sheet. And that's how you know that it's done. You can even look at the spoon and see that it's covered here in jelly. So we're gonna pull this off the heat, let it cool for a second, and then we're gonna stick it in our jars. Okay, so all we've done is I've just put our jelly here into a jar. I'm gonna stick this in the refrigerator, so there's no need to do anything to preserve it. If you do want your jelly to be shelf stable, you should water bath can it. We've done plenty of videos on how to can, so you can follow along with any one of those to make sure that your jelly will stay good for at least a year. But this is all that we have. I'm real happy with the color as it turned out. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's the video.
Yeah, that's my line. You guys like this little setup here? I just want to put that on. All right, anyway, guys, so that's it. That's the video. If you want to be an OG Mapler like these amazing folks listed right here and want to continue learning how to rely less and create more from high atop the Allegheny Plateau, please like and subscribe. And guys, we'll see you next time out on the ridge. Real quick, guys, we just launched the SMR General Provisions Company, our official store for all things Sweet Maple Ridge. Every shirt's designed by me right here at the Ridge, and they're built around the real-life work and chaos we show here on the Ridge. Each shirt represents a division of Ridge life. We got the Maple division for our sap haulers and our syrup boilers. We got the Vice division for our tobacco growers and plug makers. Of course, we got the Lower Camp division for those folks who are here for the fun and foolishness that we have down at our favorite place to unwind. From our YouTube channel homepage, click the store tab, or you can click the link in the description here. I'll show you how to do it. So what division will you be a part of? Because around here, every division tells a story, and your purchase helps to rep the channel and support our movement. We appreciate everyone, and we'll see you out on the Ridge.